There's a moment that happens to almost every trader. You've been sitting at your screen for hours. Maybe you've had a good day. Maybe you've had a terrible one. And then, just as you're about to close your platform, just as your hand moves toward the power button, something inside you whispers, one more. Just one more trade. It feels reasonable. It feels like opportunity. It feels like you'd be leaving something on the table if you didn't take it. And so you stay. You open another position. And what happens next? Well, you already know. Because if you're listening to this right now, you've lived it. I want to talk to you about this moment. Not because I'm going to tell you never to take another trade. Not because I have some rule that will fix everything. But because this moment, this whisper in your mind, reveals something much deeper about how you're relating to the market and, more importantly, to yourself. The trap of just one more trade isn't really about trading it at all. It's about what's happening inside you when that thought appears. And until you understand that, you'll keep falling into the same pattern, wondering why discipline feels impossible, why your rules don't work, why you can sabotage a good day in the final 5 minutes. Let's start with what this moment actually feels like, because I think if you're honest, you'll recognize it immediately. You're done. Your plan said you'd stop after 3 trades, or after you hit your daily goal, or after a certain time. But then you see something. A setup that looks clean. A price level that feels significant. Maybe the market just made a sharp move and you think you can catch the reversal. Or maybe you're up for the day and you think, why not add a little more to the win? Or maybe you're down and this next trade could be the one that brings you back to break even. The reasoning always sounds logical. That's the thing. It's never completely insane. There's always a justification. And that justification is just convincing enough to override the plan you made when you were thinking clearly. And here's what's really happening underneath all of that. You're not responding to the market. You're responding to a feeling. And that feeling has a few possible faces. Sometimes it's fear. The fear of missing out. The fear that if you stop now, the market will move without you and you'll regret it. Sometimes it's greed. You've tasted a win and you want more. You want to extend the high. Sometimes it's ego. You don't want to end on a loss. You don't want the day to be defined by that one mistake. And sometimes it's something quieter and more painful than any of those. It's emptiness. It's the feeling that if you stop trading, you'll have to sit with yourself. You'll have to face the silence. You'll have to think about whether today was enough, whether you are enough. And so you keep going, because the action, the stimulation, the possibility fills that space. The psychological trap of just one more trade is that it feels like a decision about the market, when really, it's a decision about how you're managing your internal state. And this is why traditional discipline doesn't work for most people. Because they're trying to enforce rules on top of unresolved emotions. It's like trying to build a house on shifting sand. The foundation isn't stable, so no matter how good the structure looks, it collapses under pressure. Let me give you an example of how this plays out. You have a good morning, 2 solid trades, you're up. You feel calm, clear, confident. Then the afternoon comes. The market slows down. Nothing clean is setting up. But you're still sitting there, still watching. And the longer you watch, the more your mind starts to create narratives. You start seeing setups that aren't really there. You start lowering your standards without realizing it. You start telling yourself that maybe this one counts, even though it doesn't match your criteria exactly. And before you know it, you're in a trade that you wouldn't have taken 4 hours ago. Why? Because your emotional state changed. The clarity you had in the morning has been replaced by restlessness, by impatience, by the need to do something. And here's the cruel part. The market doesn't care. It will absolutely take your money while you're in that state. It will punish the emotional trade just as quickly as it rewards the disciplined one. And when that happens, when you give back your gains or dig yourself deeper into a loss, you're left with something worse than the financial damage. You're left with shame. Because you knew better. You had a plan. You've told yourself 100 times that you wouldn't do this again. And yet, here you are. This is the cycle. The whisper. The justification. The action. The regret. And then, the promise to yourself that it won't happen again, until it does. So what's really going on here? Why is this pattern so persistent, even among traders who are intelligent, educated, and genuinely committed to improving? The answer is that you're using trading to regulate your emotions. When you feel anxious, trading gives you something to focus on. When you feel bored, trading gives you stimulation. When you feel inadequate, trading gives you the possibility of validation. When you feel out of control in other parts of your life, trading gives you the illusion of control. And just one more trade is the moment when that underlying need becomes too strong to resist. It's not a lack of knowledge, you know you should stop. It's not even a lack of willpower, exactly. It's that the emotional need is louder than the rational plan. And until you address the need itself, the behavior will keep repeating. Now, I want to be very clear about something. I'm not saying you're broken. I'm not saying there's something fundamentally wrong with you. Every human being uses external activities to manage internal states. That's normal. The problem is when that activity is something as unforgiving as trading, where poor emotional decisions have immediate and measurable consequences. The market is not designed to comfort you. It's not designed to make you feel better about yourself. It's not designed to fill the gaps in your life. And when you unconsciously ask it to do those things, it will punish you for the confusion. So, let's talk about what actually helps. The first step is awareness, not judgment, not shame, just awareness. The next time you feel the urge to take just one more trade, pause. Don't immediately suppress it. Don't immediately act on it. Just pause and ask yourself, what am I actually feeling right now? Are you anxious? Are you bored? Are you trying to prove something? Are you avoiding something? Are you chasing a feeling? Are you running from a feeling? You'd be surprised how often you don't actually know. You think you're responding to the market, but really, you're responding to an emotional signal that you haven't identified yet. And once you identify it, something interesting happens. The urge loses some of its power, because now it's not just an impulse, it's information. If you're feeling anxious, you can address the anxiety directly. Maybe you need to step away from the screen. Maybe you need to breathe. Maybe you need to remind yourself that not trading is also a decision, and sometimes the best one. If you're feeling bored, you can address the boredom. Maybe your issue isn't that you need another trade. Maybe your issue is that you need a life outside of trading that's fulfilling enough that you're not constantly looking to the charts for stimulation. If you're trying to prove something, you can ask yourself, to whom and why does this next trade need to carry that weight? The second step is to accept that stopping, walking away, doing nothing, these are not failures. They're choices. And often, they're the most intelligent choices you can make. Our culture glorifies action. It glorifies hustle. It tells you that more is better, that if you're not doing something, you're falling behind. And trading attracts people who already have that wiring. People who are ambitious, driven, competitive, people who don't like to sit still. But trading requires a different kind of strength. It requires the ability to do nothing when nothing is the right move. It requires the ability to walk away when your mind is telling you to stay. It requires the ability to be comfortable with enough instead of always reaching for more. And that's hard. That's really hard. especially if you've built your identity around being someone who pushes, who grinds, who doesn't quit. But here's what I want you to understand. Stopping isn't quitting. Protecting your capital isn't weakness. Honoring your plan isn't playing it safe. These are the actions of someone who takes trading seriously. These are the actions of someone who's thinking long-term, not just about today's P&L, but about the kind of trader they're becoming. Because just one more trade isn't really about one trade. It's about a pattern of behavior that, over time, shapes who you are in the market. And if that pattern is driven by emotional impulses rather than clear thinking, it doesn't matter how good your strategy is. You'll undermine yourself before you ever reach your potential. Now let's go a little deeper. There's another layer to this trap that I want to explore with you, and it has to do with the way your brain processes reward and risk. When you take a trade and it works, your brain releases a hit of dopamine. You feel good. You feel validated. You feel like you did something right. And your brain, being the pattern-seeking machine that it is, wants to recreate that feeling. So it pushes you toward another trade. And another. This is the same mechanism that's at play in gambling addiction. It's not that you're addicted to money. You're addicted to the feeling of winning. And the possibility of that feeling is enough to keep you coming back, even when the odds are against you. But here's the twist. Your brain is also highly sensitive to loss. And when you lose, especially when you lose in a way that feels unfair or unexpected, your brain goes into threat mode. It wants to fix the problem. It wants to recover what was lost. It wants to return to safety. And what does it tell you to do? Take another trade. Because maybe this one will bring you back to where you were. Maybe this one will erase the mistake. So whether you're winning or losing, your brain is pushing you toward the same behavior. Keep going. Don't stop. One more. And this is why you can feel the urge just as strongly after a good day as you can after a bad one. The emotional driver is different, but the impulse is the same. Understanding this doesn't make it go away, but it does give you perspective. It helps you see that the voice in your head isn't wisdom. It's not insight. It's not even intuition. It's biology. It's your brain trying to manage discomfort in the fastest way possible. And fast is not the same as right. So when that voice appears, when it tells you that you need to take one more trade, you can recognize it for what it is. You can say to yourself, that's just my brain doing what brains do, but I don't have to listen. I can choose differently. And that choice, that moment of choosing awareness over impulse, that's where real growth happens. Let me also say this. If you're someone who struggles with this, you're not alone, and you're not uniquely flawed. This is one of the most common issues traders face. The market is designed to trigger these responses. It's volatile. It's uncertain. It's filled with possibility and danger in equal measure. And your brain, which evolved to keep you safe and seek reward, is constantly being activated by it. The traders who succeed long-term aren't the ones who never feel the urge. They're the ones who've learned to feel it, recognize it, and choose not to act on it. They've built a different relationship with their own minds. They've learned to pause, to question, to sit with discomfort instead of trying to trade their way out of it. And that's a skill. It's not something you're born with. It's something you develop through practice, through reflection, through failing and learning and trying again. So if you've taken just one more trade 100 times, if you've blown up accounts, if you've sabotaged yourself at the worst possible moments, that doesn't mean you can't change. It means you're learning. It means you're becoming aware of the pattern, and awareness is always the first step. What comes next is responsibility, not blame, not shame, responsibility. You're responsible for the emotional state you bring to the market. You're responsible for recognizing when you're not in a good place to trade. You're responsible for building a life outside of trading that supports your mental clarity. You're responsible for asking for help if you need it, whether that's therapy, coaching, or just honest conversations with people who understand what you're going through. And you're responsible for deciding that you matter more than any single trade. Because at the end of the day, that's what this is really about. It's about how much you value yourself. It's about whether you're willing to protect your well-being, your capital, your future, or whether you're going to sacrifice all of that for the temporary feeling of action. The market will always be here. There will always be another setup, another opportunity, another day. But your mental health, your confidence, your sense of self, those things are harder to rebuild once they're damaged. So when you feel the pull of just one more trade, ask yourself, is this coming from a place of clarity or a place of need? Am I making a decision, or am I being driven by an emotion I haven't addressed? And if the honest answer is the latter, give yourself permission to stop, to walk away, to let this moment pass without acting on it. You don't owe the market anything. You don't owe yourself constant action. What you owe yourself is the chance to become the kind of trader who can think clearly, act intentionally, and build something sustainable. And that trader, the one you're becoming, doesn't need just one more trade. That trader knows when enough is enough. That trader trusts the process. That trader understands that real strength isn't about always being in the market. It's about knowing when to step back. So the next time that whisper comes, the next time your hand hovers over the entry button, remember this conversation. Remember that you have a choice. Remember that the urge is just a feeling, and feelings pass. And then, with calm and clarity, choose what serves you. Not what feels urgent, not what promises relief, but what serves the trader you're committed to becoming. That's the way through. That's the way forward. And you're capable of it. If this conversation resonated with you, I'm glad you stayed until the end. The work of becoming a better trader is quiet work. It happens in moments like these, when you're alone with your thoughts, willing to look honestly at what's really going on beneath the surface. You're not here by accident. You're here because you're serious about this. And that matters. Take what's useful from this. Leave what isn't. And tomorrow, when you sit down at your screen, bring a little more awareness with you. That's all for now. Trade well.